Welcome to episode 55 of Hockey Nights in Vegas, brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor. Anthony Curtis's Las Vegas Advisor is the place to go for everything Las Vegas. And also by Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever, my very good friend. If you want to feel the best you can possibly feel, look up Dr. John Pierce, www.agelessforever.net. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined as always by Lindsey Brown of Lotus Broadcasting, Chris Chapman of Fox Sports Las Vegas, and episode 55 is going to be called A Victory Lap and a Victory. We were all very fortunate last night to watch the banner go up at T-Mobile, and I got to tell you, it was pretty emotional. The place was absolutely electric. If nothing else, the Vegas Golden Knights do know how to put on a show. And the fact that they incorporated a slot machine into it. And listen, I'm not impressed easy, but you know what? Sitting there and just watching that whole production unfurl, it was pretty impressive, I think. Anybody else want to chime in on what they thought of the whole pregame presentation?
Yeah, it was pretty unique, I thought. I've seen some banners go up, like not personally, but I've seen banners in other rinks and other stadiums and other arenas. And I'll just say that the banner itself was one of the most beautiful championship banners I've ever seen. Like, it just pops. Like, I saw the Avalanche one from 2020, what was it, 22? And right. It was nice, but it was pretty generic. It didn't pop. There was definitely some emotion. Like, you could see it on some of the players' faces as they were getting ready to come out of the tunnel. Mark Stone takes that one final victory lap with the cup hoisted high above his head, the team skating behind him. And then I think you got to see the closeness and how tight these guys are when they were raising the banner, just the way they were hugging each other and had their arms wrapped around each other. I thought all in all, it was an A-plus ceremony. And look, let's do it again next year. I want to see it again in a year.
Yeah, I thought it was a great ceremony. I can't help but kind of put myself in the skates of the players and just the little absurdities of the moment. I thought it was great to have Stone come out of the helmet with the Stanley Cup, but I don't know if everybody realized initially that they were supposed to follow along. So it was like a bunch of little ducklings following behind him. And so I thought that was kind of funny. And then when they were raising up the banner itself, it was a slow roll. And you want to make sure you elongate the moment, cherish the moment, because you don't know when the next one's going to happen. As we all talk about, there's every intention of repeating, and hopefully that's true. But sometimes you're just standing there like, all right, like, and we're ready to go play. We're ready to get going. But in terms of like the body language of the players, like you said, they're hugging each other, but you can tell the way when like people are holding their sticks or when they have their hands on their hips that they're a little bit more in the moment and thinking about things. And so I'm glad they were able to take that the fans were there to squeeze out every ounce of celebration of what has been a very fun summer. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They went out and they had that huge ceremony where it's a little bit touch and go to begin the game, but they end up scoring a beautiful goal to start. And I think that's just the identity of this team. It's like, we might not look the greatest all the time. We'll put on a good show, but we're for real, we're serious, and we'll execute when it's our turn to.
Hey, and the best part is, if you were at the game last night, you got one yourself. So
yeah,
so pretty cool. that's definitely going to go on the wall in my office. Well, my little cubicle. I don't have an office anymore at Lotus Broadcasting, but it'll find a spot either in the studio or in the cubicle. But yeah, very, very cool that, like they never seem to miss the mark when it comes to things. I mean, obviously this is a unique situation, but everything that this organization has ever done, I feel like, in regards to any type of ceremony unfortunately, from 1 October and that first home game on the 10th, which was actually 6 years ago to the day yesterday, the very first home game when William Karlsson didn't score against the Coyotes, but he reminded everyone that he was there since day fucking one. And then the banner that they raised against the Sharks in the final home game that year, the emotion of that, and like they just always seem to get these types of things right. Tyler Ferraro, who is one of the people in the department that handles all those things, the kid is amazing. Like, he definitely has a higher calling, it seems like, maybe in Hollywood or something, because the way they script all this out is really cool, and the organization always seems to hit.
I think the most telling image, and there was lots of images and lots of video to take away from it. I think the most telling image was the picture of the banner going up from behind the team.
Mm-hmm.
And, Mark Messier is not the most eloquent fellow that they've ever had as an announcer, but he called it brothers in arms. And just the picture of all of them with their arms around each other, literally all the way around the team, watching the banner go up. I think that was the sort of the most significant takeaway. And it was funny because it did seem like that banner took about 6 hours to go up.
Oh my God. The whole song. They're like, we're going to make it through the whole song.
I mean, I don't know if they had a kid back there that was one of those college intern people, like running a crank, sort of like the Jack in the Box thing, trying to get that thing up there. But I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, Jesus, this video is going to run about an hour long. I better cut away to like the screen or do something, because God damn, it was going slow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. They just, for all that we bad rap them about how they treat the fans and sometimes how they may treat us, the forward facing stuff, when it's the biggest stage, they really do it right. It was really disappointing. The ring is very boring and understated, and it doesn't really. I mean, it's just not very glamorous for Vegas, right? $75,000. It's big enough to hide 2 fingers, and it's what would we say? It's very Vegas, right?
It's very Vegas. And they had a dealer downstairs, like when we were walking through the bowels of the arena, by where the beautiful people sit, right? And it's like, what kind of random show floor, sales thing is here? And they got the rings out. And so certainly a timepiece, you could say. And I think all the new championship stuff is versatile now. It's a pendant. You can wear it out as a necklace. You could probably house a small family in there. I really like the detail on the rink that looks like the exact rink itself, including the face-off painting, but where all the goals were scored in the final
the stars.
game. I love that little touch, and I still can't believe they scored 9 goals in that game. Like, what Stanley Cup final? Like, that's not even a respectable hockey score. And so it was just weird.
It's truly unbelievable when you look at the detail, because I got to see one up close. I didn't stop at the table last night because I was walking in and I was hoping they were giving out free samples of Foley's wines. But
Stop it. You were there for the burrito. Don't fucking lie.
The burrito was phenomenal. You know what? I will say this. If you watch this, and it's the first time I've had it, usually I'll do the pizza or the Shake Shack. But that fucking barbecue Mexicana, and I can't remember what it's, 2 Papa Manchas or something like that. Holy shit. It was like a shredded brisket burrito, but it had like Mexican like flavoring, like a cilantro coleslaw and I don't even like coleslaw. And the woman was like, well, if you get it without the coleslaw, you have to get a bowl. I was like, fuck that. I want the burrito. I'll deal with it. I'll suck it up. It was phenomenal. And I was told that they have a pork belly skewers, and I've been told that is chef's kiss. So next time I go, I'll Pachamamas. That's I'm sorry. Yeah. So barbecue Mexicana / whatever the hell I just said, Pachamamas. Awesome. So that will be my new spot from now on when we go to T-Mobile for a game. But I was kind of hoping it was like free samples of Foley's wine, but I was highly disappointed when I walked by and they were selling replicas for $10,000. I'm like, do you know where I work?
No.
I tried shamelessly as Lindsey and I were walking back toward the press box. I just looked right at the guy right straight in the face and I said, she's here to pick up her ring.
Right. Like there's some Microsoft Excel list that they're like, let me check who's on the list here.
Yeah.
Who hasn't picked up their shit yet.
Yeah, he totally didn't fall for that.
Yeah,
move.
He wasn't in a joking mood for us.
No. I gave it the serious straight face pitch too. And
you're an old pit boss, so you could be pretty.
Yeah, you're terrifying, Eddie. I don't know. You're like, I'm gonna give him a wink. I'd be like, oh, he's coming after me.
I was just hoping we could score the ring.
Yeah. Hey, I would even take the $900 replica that they're selling because I'm like, that would be pretty.
We can barely afford a ring pop, Chapman. That's about as good as it's going to get.
So my partner at Fox Sports, Ryan Wallace, he's getting a ring. Now, he's not getting the $75,000 player ring, but he said to me, he's like, it's probably something I'll wear once or twice. And I said, Ryan, you have a daughter and you have a son. The day you give your daughter away, you will be wearing a fucking ring.
Take it to Rick Harrison at the pawn place.
Yeah, you know what? And I let everyone know. Listen, I'm not lucky enough to have gotten one. I drew the short end of the stick apparently, but had I gotten one, I would wear that fucking thing everywhere. Like high school reunion.
Of course you would.
The guidance counselor that said I was not going to amount to anything. Eat on this, and. Listen, I that's how I am. I would have been braggadocious about it. Well, what did you do for the team? Oh, I ran the board for their daily radio show.
I talk about them.
Yeah. I badmouth them when they trade away Marc-Andre Fleury. But hey, you know what? I got a fucking rings.
Now that I think about it, that ring will probably go really well with Ryan Wallace's flannel shirt.
No, he wore a suit yesterday.
I know, and I completely expected it to be a flannel suit.
Don't start talking shit about flannels. They're the most versatile shirts there are.
Listen, we know that's a Minnesota tuxedo that you got on right there.
It's called I get up early in the morning and I don't care because I got stuff to think about. I got things to think about.
What does your hat say, by the way?
It's a Charlotte Hornets hat, which I'm only wearing because there's just a complete lack of purple in this league, and it is one of the things that I will rally for until the day I die because there's no purple jersey in this league.
I used to have a Charlotte Hornets starter jacket. That's how old I am.
I don't know how good the team is, but they got swag. They got swag. I believe in LaMelo Ball and his ability to stay healthy for sure.
I like the hat though.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, okay. We've done our victory lap. Lindsey has a hard out at noon, so we should probably talk about the game. I'm a little surprised. I'm not surprised that there was a slow start. I am surprised they found their game fairly quickly. And though I wouldn't call it a dominating win, I would say all things considered, it was probably a pretty sound first venture into defending the realm for the Stanley Cup. There are a couple of storylines that developed. One is the injury bug that seemed to be gone entirely last year seems to be rabid. Alec Martinez had a cast on his arm. Zach Whitecloud had a cast on his thumb. Will Carrier left the game, halfway through the first, I think.
I think he left at about the 13-minute mark of the first period.
Did he really?
Yeah. It was like his last shift.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're looking at, and then, we'll talk about the questionable hit and the possible pending suspension. So they could possibly be in the second game of the season down 4 starters. And I mean, that's pretty significant when you think about it. So let's sort of unpack it one thing at a time. Let's just talk about the game and the effort first. Lindsey, what was your overall takeaway from the game?
Well, I think they picked up right where they left off in terms of how a lot of the playoffs went last year, and specifically the Stanley Cup final, where it felt like they had to weather the storm for a little while. They were under siege. I thought Seattle does a really good job of getting the puck through the neutral zone and getting into the offensive zone. It seemed like the Golden Knights were a little bit disjointed in their timing, so Seattle was able to take advantage of some of those lanes. But that also could just be the adjustment we are so used to watching playoff hockey, where I'm going to forecheck the hell out of you. Like, there's no way you're getting out of here. Now it's just kind of like, we'll get you. We'll meet you and greet you when you get down here, and we'll start taking it seriously. But the goal where it's of the tic-tac-toe nature on a zone entry with a saucer pass from Brett Howden as well, through traffic to hit Stevenson on the back door, I think is the perfect encapsulation of what this team is that they might not always play like they're the better team, but they're always a threat to be the better team. And they find ways to execute with their lineup where it's up and down. You can roll all 4 lines. And if Carrier is out, that's a big deal because he's a huge driver on that 4th line. I thought the 4th line was great last night. Cotter was certainly involved early on in the physicality, took a couple penalties with shoving people around, but you gotta make a name for yourself if you're going to be playing those minutes with that line. But it took him a little while to settle in. I thought Aiden Hill looked okay, looked a little bit shaky. He ends up on his butt a lot, so I have to kind of maybe reset my tolerance for some sloppier play when it comes to movement, because as long as you're making the saves and the rebounds aren't going in crazy spots, like, I'm okay with that. Like, I should be okay with that as a former netminder. But overall, I thought you saw great things from each line. Jack Eichel is that passing threat on that low to high like nobody's business. That was all over the place last night. But I think a really solid start against a team that is really good in Seattle.
Yeah, what's that old saying about everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face?
Yeah.
Mike Tyson, baby.
Yeah, Seattle had a plan until Chandler Stevenson put that puck in the net. Then all of a sudden it seemed like the Golden Knights were able – I mean, they scored a goal on their first shot of the season. So – I mean, they I don't want to say they found their game after that, but they certainly looked a lot better after that. And as the game went on, you could see that they were a much better team than the Seattle Kraken, even without Alec Martinez, even without Zach Whitecloud. I mean, Ben Hutton and Braden Pahal both played, I felt pretty well. Pahal took I thought, a bad high sticking penalty, but there were a lot of penalties by the Golden Knights, something that obviously they're going to want to cut down them. But that was something that seemed to plague them in the preseason too. Like, they took the least amount of penalties last season in the league. And certainly you don't want to take, I think, 5 in the first game of the season. But they took a lot, especially early on in the preseason games. These last 2 dress rehearsal games, they took a bunch last night. But I will say this. Ivan Barbashev was a guy that I'll be 100% honest about. He was buried in St. Louis. The only time I ever really watched the Blues was that playoff run when they won the Cup and when they would come to T-Mobile. Ivan Barbashev maybe is one of the most underrated players in the NHL because he's fast. He's got a lot of good offensive skill. And like I said multiple times on this podcast, he's a bastard. Like, he will fucking light you up. And he lit up Matty Beniers last night on a play along the boards. And, like, Beniers got up looking like, hey, did you get the license plate of that truck? The goal that he scored, the pass from Brady McNabb was like a touchdown pass. Like Pat Mahomes could not have put that more on the tape from as deep of a distance as Brady McNabb did. I mean, I think Eddie said it was like 100 yards or something down the ice. But it was kind of just a formula of who that guy is. He had an opportunity late in the first where I think he just lost the puck. Good defensive play by Adam Larson, broke things up. But once he got behind the defense on that goal from where he had the assist from McNabb, there was no denying him. And
Chap, about that goal and what he did too, because this is something I really noticed watching him play last night, and how like we talk about his physicality and his ability to lay down the wood, but the way that he plays off of contact, because he had somebody right on his backside, and he was able to corral that pass, and then he took it a little bit to the middle because he was splitting right up the ice. Like the Golden Knights were able to go up the middle a ton last night, and he took it a little bit to the left, and then he took and fired it back right side. So you get the goalie moving a little bit, and then you fire it back to the side that they just came from, which is a super difficult save to make. And it was a riser. Like it was an absolute laser of a pass. And that's what I noticed. I have some notes about how sneaky, shifty he is and how he moves his body around contact and getting his hands back down really quick to make a play. Because sometimes get your hands down, you can just swat at it. He gets his hands down and he's able to get torque on it. Like I didn't realize that was such a big part of his game. And, it's just little things you notice in one performance, but you're on it in terms of like what the nuanced physical nature of his game is. It's not just hitting people. It's being in good position and being able to fight off contact and get a good shot off.
Yeah, he's a. The funny thing is, like, I don't feel like he's an imposing character. Like you look at him. He's not huge, and he doesn't look like a mean, angry guy. Even when you talk to him, he's very like. A bit soft-spoken.
He's soft-spoken.
Yeah,
completely.
And when he gets on the ice, it's like a switch is flipped, and he turns into this other player. And
he's the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I really enjoy watching him. I really enjoy his game. It's just another move, and I think I don't want to say you're ever going to forget Riley Smith. Obviously, that would just be the stupidest thing anyone could ever say, but when you're looking for someone to replace some of his production, I think Barbashev, look, I got poo-pooed a little bit when I said he was going to score 20 goals this year. He's going to score 20 goals this year.
Easy.
Like playing with Eichel and Marchessault, that line, first of all three guys on the line had a goal, which I don't know if Bruce Cassidy could have dialed it up any better. Then you get a goal from Chandler Stevenson, who, again, I was poo-pooed when I said he was going to score 20 goals again this season. This team... And why the injuries don't really bother me as much as maybe some other people, they're incredibly deep. Paul Cotter stepped in last night. He belongs in the NHL. He's proved it in the past, and he's going to prove it again. And now we're going to get to see Pavel Dorofeyev, who I think is also an NHL player. So I think, obviously you start to wonder who will be the next man up if Brett Howden is suspended, because obviously at that point you'll be down another forward. But if it's one or two games, and I'm assuming, and I know we'll get to it, but generally when you get the phone call that you're meeting with Department of Player Safety, you're probably getting suspended. So by the time we upload this, there's a good chance we'll know that Brett Howden was suspended for 2 or 3 games. I think that's probably what it would be. It wasn't a dirty hit. I just thought it was a bad hit and a dangerous part of the ice. But look, they have Jacob Demick, who they just signed, and they have another guy who could potentially make his NHL debut. And if they really felt like they didn't have the trust or the confidence in either of those guys, you've got Jonas Rondbjerg, who played in the NHL a couple seasons. So they have options if it's only for 1 or 2 games. And look, if it's longer than that, maybe it's Brisson time.
Well, I think that I'll play coach for just a couple of minutes. We'll assume that there's going to be a suspension. We'll call it a couple of games. Unfortunately, the track record of Carrier when he gets hurt is it's not a couple of games.
Yeah,
it's much more significant. We hope that it's not. Unfortunately, we have no information to share with you because we don't get information like that. We'll only find out tomorrow night, basically. But it feels like to me, considering Paul Cotter probably had 12 hits last night and a couple of just glorious, actually, setups as opposed to scoring attempts, it seems to me like the fit is probably that Paul Cotter goes down and plays with Kolasar and Waugh. Dorofeyev goes up and plays on William Karlsson's line. Mm-hmm. And then it does feel like this is probably the right time to give Brendan Brisson his first NHL cup of coffee. I mean, everybody said he had a fantastic camp. I don't think I agree with that. I think he was okay. He was noticeable. He scored a couple of goals doing what he does best. but I think the situation dictates. It's early in the season. This is his opportunity maybe to get 3 or 4 or 5 games in. The defense is basically set till White Cloud and Martinez come back. It feels like it should be Hutton and Pahal. They were absolutely solid and serviceable, right? They didn't have any huge gaffes. There wasn't anything that would say, okay, we got to bring in Caden Korzak or we got to bring in, somebody else like that. But the injury bug is a bit concerning. I mean, Carrier is a big part of the team. Aside from, 15 or 16 goals, whatever his career high, he's the engine that drives the bus of that fourth line. And it seems to me with what they have available that Paul Cotter is probably the guy that should go into that slot until Carrier comes back. And he has proved that he can play up and down the lineup. The other thing I want to talk about, we're talking about replacing Riley Smith. Keegan Colasar on the PK. Jack Eichel getting 4 minutes plus on the PK.
Yep.
It's going to be hard to replace Riley Smith, but you can see that they've put an awful lot of thought into. The Pahal was on PK2 last night for the whole way through, so they're continuing to evolve, and I think evolve for the better. You're seeing more guys in more roles, showing more skill sets, things that we weren't necessarily sure that were available, tools in Coach Cassidy's toolbox. And I liked everything about it. I couldn't care less about the slow start. How can you not stargaze for a while?
Yeah.
After that, we were all saying this game doesn't really mean anything, the result. But then when you take in the result, a convincing 4-1 win over a 100-point team that rolls 4 lines. I think there's a lot more in the takeaway than the throwaway. This is only going to be the victory lap game. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Kracken. Go ahead, Lindsay. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think it says a lot because you could say the result doesn't matter if they lose, but the fact that they did win, I think it just kind of gives you not a sigh of relief, but maybe some pause because you can't expect the team from last year to carry over. And even though it's like 95% the same dudes, like there has to be a natural breakage, right? That's why it's so hard to get over that ceremony too, because you're still in yesteryear. But now we're here, and now these points do matter. But I think it speaks to the maturity, and then to see Eichel out there on the top with Carlson on that PK and his evolution as a player. The team is only going to go as far as he's able to, and it's about keeping him healthy as well. Because you think if he's doing PK, power play, 5v5, that's a lot of minutes, and so you're going to have people that can kind of spot a shift here or there, that could maybe fill in on a line if you need to. But ultimately, he's a 20-something-year-old guy with one of the best skating strides in the league, and so you expect him to take that step, and maybe that diversification of what the PK is. Maybe they're not always fishing as much. Maybe they're a little bit more in withstand mode. We'll have to see.
Yeah, to talk about the Kraken a little bit, they're a really good team. Mm-hmm. Like, they're well coached. They've got really good players. I think Philip Grubauer is I would say an above average to good goalie. I don't think he's a Vezina candidate, but he's a good goalie. Look, they're not going to be a bad team, and they're probably better than what the 4-1 score indicated. But the reality is, this is a team that sat in the locker room while the Golden Knights took their sweet time raising that banner. And the reality is, they couldn't figure out Adin Hill. The Golden Knights were really good on the PK, and they certainly had chances. But for the Golden Knights to withstand that early storm, because I feel like Seattle did come out with a little more jump in this game, and you knew they were going to. Like, I don't bet the game. If I did, I would have had my money on the Kraken last night, and I would have lost. And that would serve me right for betting against Bruce Cassidy and Mark Stone. Like, I said it in our first show of the year. I don't think Mark Stone is going to allow this team to lose focus. Like, I don't think Mark Stone is the kind of guy who says, yeah, I got my 1 cup, I'm happy. I get the feeling Mark Stone wants to basically build a legacy. He wants his legacy to be the guy who won multiple Stanley Cups as the very first captain in the history of the Golden Knights. Like, what a legacy that would be. I mean, amazing to think that this was a guy who was a 6th-round pick for the Ottawa Senators of all teams. And here he is taking one final victory lap on October 10th, 2023 as Stanley Cup champion. So, look, all the pieces are still there. And I thought they got into their game pretty quick, considering, look, at the end of the day, 10 years from now, no one's going to remember if the Golden Knights won or lost this game. Like, if you ask Alex Pietrangelo or Chandler Stevenson, hey, do you remember if you won or lost the game the night you guys raised the banner? Do you think they, A, give a shit, and B, would even remember? Probably not. But everyone's going to remember that banner ceremony. Everyone who was in the building, everyone in this town. I heard a caller on the extended postgame show last night, and I thought he nailed it. And he said, everyone in this city, he's been here a long time. He said, everyone's going to remember where they were on October 1st. And everyone's going to remember where they were on October 10th, 2017. Everyone is going to remember where they were on June 13th of 2023. And everyone is going to remember where they were on October 10th of 2023. Like, these are significant moments. We gave tickets away on our show all week, and the excitement of the people who, when I got to tell them, hey, you won tickets to the game, and the disbelief and just the joy that they get to opportunity to witness. I mean, it's history. It's Vegas sports history. Look, this team can win 5 cups in the next 20 years. Nothing will top last night in terms of significance. And for this team to find their wheels so quick, I think that maybe spells a little bit of trouble for the rest of the league, and certainly the Pacific Division. Like, as you said, Eddie, they didn't blow through the Seattle Kraken, and maybe the scoreline flattered them a little bit, but they picked apart the Kraken, and they found weaknesses in their game, and they found strengths in theirs, and they were able to utilize that. And to do it so quickly after sitting out on the ice or standing on the ice for 20 minutes watching that banner go up, knowing the Kraken were going to be pissed off and angry and grinding their teeth and steam coming out of their ears. I mean, it's a good sign. I think it's a good sign that this team is well motivated and they're well coached.
Hang on. I have a news flash. Just came across the wire service.
Ooh.
The banner has made it to the rafters.
Oh, thank God.
And should note that is not the spot it's going to hang at T-Mobile. They put it in that spot so everyone in the building would be able to see it. It's going to go up along the back rafters where all the other banners are hanging. So I imagine it's going to go right next to the banner with the 58 stars on it. And it probably should. And, you know, the cup is as much for those people as it is for the city of Las Vegas and
sure.
the franchise. And that banner will forever hang in T-Mobile Arena. And should the Golden Knights ever move to a different arena, that banner will go with them. So, you know, it's just, it was really cool. And I'm excited that I got to witness it. And, you know, so much, like, I still have to pinch myself. And I know you do, Eddie, and probably you too as well, Lindsey, but that for me, for now going into my 7th season, and both of you guys, I think in your 5th seasons, like, to have witnessed so many significant moments in just a short period of time with this franchise, like, I have to pinch myself and be like, look, I was a Devils fan growing up. They started in 2 other cities before they even made it to New Jersey, and then it took them 20 years to win something when they were in Jersey. So, like, it's a big deal, you know, and it's really awesome to witness so much in so short a period of time.
I think this might go down as the shortest episode. I just checked for the Brett Howden suspension news, and nothing else is on the line.
Yeah, and I was looking for Will Carrier update as well, because I know the team is practicing right now. So
yeah, they're on the ice right now, leaving for San Jose tomorrow night, and then back at the Fortress. I think the Ducks are coming to town.
Yes, on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
So
and they got the Avs next Tuesday, I think.
Well, I mean, there's a pretty reasonable chance that the Golden Knights are going to come out of the gate 3-0, and we're 35 minutes in, and there's really not much else to talk about. The victory lap was the big story.
Mm-hmm.
The game was the game, and so I think that we should probably just wrap it up and take the rest of the afternoon off.
Sounds good.
I like it.
We'll call it a day. Maybe we'll go to Juan's Flaming Fajitas.
Ooh.
But before we go, we do have to thank our sponsors. The Las Vegas Advisor, Anthony Curtis's Las Vegas Advisor, is the go-to place for anything gambling, anything shows, any place you want to eat, anything you want to do in Las Vegas. Check out www.lasvegasadvisor.com and also agelessforever.net. My very dear friend, Dr. John Pierce, who's going to be making an appearance on future podcasts when I go into his office and we cut some of those famous live commercials from last season, kids. Now, Lindsey hasn't seen any of those, I'm sure.
I haven't seen any either.
Oh, these are fans. If you thought that I was off the cuff making our dear friend Joe turn red as a cherry last night, talking about John Pierce and how you make men stronger and how you take care of women's health and stuff like that. JJ and I have been friends for 30 years, and I can't tell you where we met, and I can't tell you the stories about what we did when we were much younger in our days.
Boy.
Not safe for
work. I can tell you that when Dr. John Pierce and I are in the same room and we're talking about men's health and women's health and testosterone and hormone balancing and all the things we covered last year, kids, it's going to be the best 2 or 3 minute infomercial that you've seen anywhere on network TV or a podcast. So that's it. Episode 55 is in the books. So we're going to talk to you after the Golden Knights knock off San Jose and Anaheim on Saturday night. And then after the Dallas Stars game on Tuesday night, we'll cut another episode for you. So make sure that you stay tuned in. Hit the like and subscribe for us, please.
Yeah, everyone
and say hello to the fourth member.
So
we have a new member of the podcast. What's your friend's name, Mr. Chapman?
It's Kojiro. He is 16 weeks old, and he is a monster already. Right, buddy? Right? Yeah, I know.